This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
Today, Will is going to do something stupid.
And I have a spicy hot take for you.
What are you recommending today for FANDOM Friday?
I'm recommending Birds of Prey, now renamed to Harley Quinn, which is what it should have been named to begin with, because Birds of Prey essentially aren't in this movie. And also, who the heck are the Birds of Prey? No one knows who that is. Everyone knows who Harley Quinn is. They should have just named it Harley Quinn. Anyway, the movie's okay. It's like clearly meant for a female audience because it's definitely a female empowerment movie, but it's not terrible. Okay, it's not a movie that puts guys down. They're not constantly saying guys suck, although they do allude to it. There are lots of crotch kicks. All the villains are guys, but it's not something where they're lecturing to me about how terrible I am as a person. It's just a dumb action movie, and it's surrounding these female villains that are like, the anti-heroes. And I enjoyed it. The fight scenes are amazing. So I believe I read that the people who do John Wick were hired to do the fight scenes. Top notch. Some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in a superhero movie. They're very unbelievable because they have this like 120-pound chick breaking people's legs and stuff. But they're wonderful fight scenes, and it's very good. The story is run of the mill, but if you're looking for like a popcorn film that you don't have to think about, that has some really fun colors, and it has Harley Quinn being Harley Quinn, you'll like this movie.
It's a superhero or villain movie. They're not meant to make sense.
No, it doesn't. It's a really basic plot line. They're trying to find a diamond, and every heist movie has a diamond. It's not really a heist movie, but like a retrieval of the diamond, and the bad guy wants the diamond. Black Mask. If you are, I will say, if you're a fan of Black Mask from the comics or the Arkham game, the Arkham Origin game, you will not like this rendition. He sucks. But I mean, it's not really about him. It's about Harley Quinn, to be honest. So it's also not like Joker. So if you're going in thinking it's going to be a good movie like the Joker, it is not like that. The Joker was amazing. This movie is just
stealing my thunder. I was just about to say, on my plane ride to Jamaica, one of the options for the in-flight movie was the Joker.
Oh,
I waited an hour before I started it because I had like a 4-hour flight. I read a book for about a good hour and a half. Oh, I tried to start the Joker the first time, and the opening scene, I was like, I don't know if I can watch this right now. I'm trying to have a happy mood going to Jamaica, but I eventually succumbed to the curiosity and watched it.
You should have just watched it twice.
No, I can't do that. I probably won't watch it again. It was so depressing. But
yeah, I do feel bad for him.
It was like, every time I thought, okay, it can't get any worse than this. It was like, and then it's like, okay, it can't get worse than that. And I was like, ooh, it even got worse. How is this even possible? But artistically, this movie, The Joker, it's not what I expected, okay? And it certainly is not like a weird alt-right movie like the Jokey. Whoops.
I don't know what that is.
That was creepy. I might have to look at that later and just not sleep tonight.
I'm gonna look at that later. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But there was so many twists that I was like, oh, really? Like, is that even? And then specifically the whole background of the mother and his father and stuff. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and it's still kind of ambiguous at the end.
Yeah, it was. I was like, But the ending scene where he's just, I was like, wow, this is great. Like the ending scene made so much sense how he got to where he got. And it would have been almost like, not canonically perfect with the Dark Knight trilogy, but it almost makes sense.
I hope that they make a second one simply because I love what they did with this movie, but I don't think where they ended it, he's necessarily the Joker of the Batman movies yet, or the Batman series. I think we need another movie where he builds up his empire to that point. Because right now it's just like kind of like a psycho.
Well, the Joker is a psycho.
With a really sad past, and it's just he hasn't turned into. I don't know. I just don't think he's quite there yet.
I do think as far as him becoming, and the other thing that was crazy was the scenes where he's like seeing these things, and then it all falls apart somewhere in the middle of the movie. I was like, whoa, that's I did not know that. You know, I was like, ooh, okay. But I did like how it kind of goes through the backstory of Bruce Wayne. I thought that was kind of cool. And then it leads up to the event that led to Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. That was like, it didn't show any of that, but like it's like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. What was I gonna? Where was I going with this?
But they also end it, and it's like, did any of that actually happen? So there's two endings to that movie. One is it all happened and he's in the insane asylum at the end, or he's in the insane asylum and he was just thinking about that the entire time. Because he talks about, I was thinking about a joke you wouldn't understand. So it's possible that none of that happened.
Yeah, that's possible.
I don't like that as much because I want it to be real. But yeah.
Well, a lot of that had to be real, but not all of it.
No, maybe none of it. Because if you actually watch the movie, the very beginning he's
You're
talking
right.
to the social worker, and I believe it's either the same actress or it's someone that looks very similar at the end who is his whatever doctor. Yes.
I guess I hadn't thought of that, but I was also watching it on a flight to Jamaica,
Yeah.
and I've only
Just
watched it
didn't
once.
pick up on it, Chris. Just admit it. No, it's super subtle. So I was already kind of thinking that there'd be another twist at the end, which is why I saw that. So
The other thing I was thinking about was if he is in the insane asylum after the events of the Joker, it makes sense why his empire has fallen when he comes back in the Dark Knight trilogy, and he has to rebuild it.
yeah.
But I like how they use similar clown masks to the one in the Dark Knight trilogy. But Heath Ledger is still the definitive Joker for me.
It's just the Joaquin Phoenix one is its own beast, and I love it equally.
I would agree with that sentiment. Yeah.
It's just completely different though, but I love them both.
Now that I've finally seen it, that was a wonderfully artistic take on the Joker origin, and I don't think we'll ever see something that good for the Joker origin story.
I'm excited for DC to do this. They should just do these dark label movies or black label or whatever they're calling them, or it's just these like one or two off movies that aren't part of a franchise, and they just explore characters really in depth.
Or do like the Dark Knight trilogy, but don't try to tie it into Superman.
Yeah, I mean that's still in the same idea. So it's not part of a franchise as far as
No
like
DC
an extended universe.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Don't try to be like Marvel. Let Marvel be Marvel, and you do your own thing.
Yeah. The Justice League movie was trash, but I really like Wonder Woman. I like Shazam.
Wonder Woman was good. I haven't seen Shazam.
Shazam's good. Again, it's just a dumb popcorn movie, but it's still good.
So now on to the thing I actually want to recommend that
Good.
I planned on recommending. The Joker was kind of improvised, but I was like, ooh, all day I was thinking I need to recommend the Joker. This is the second Ken Follett book that I'm going to recommend, and it is not also a video game, but there is a TV miniseries that I will warn you does not follow the books, because
what do they build in this one?
A lot of things. It's not meant to be like a singular building moving the plot like Pillars of the Earth was, but it is in the same town. It's called the Kingsbridge Trilogy, because each book revolves around a time period in Kingsbridge where they kind of go over the major plot points in England, and that factors into the plot of the main characters, if that makes sense. Like in this one, they had the plague, and they had England invading France. Okay. So that's kind of like the historical background. It's like 1300s.
Real historical backdrop to the fictional story.
Yes, exactly. And there's usually a prominent religious figure, most of the time Catholic, a prominent noble, either an earl or like the king's involved in this one, which was kind of bizarre, and then like a high-level merchant. It's like you've got like these three different ways of life kind of combating against each other, and it involves a priory and several outlying towns. So like the priory is run by the religious order, which is the Catholic order, and then like obviously all of the lands outside of it are run by the earl, and they're constantly fighting with each other. And then of course all of your standard people that live in the priory and in the like outlying towns are also a factor, and they're like against the rule, or like they want to change things that'll make things better for everybody, but obviously everybody wants to stay in the order that they're already in. They don't want to change things because it changes the way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of people that are combative against any kind of change. And I am going to say, though, there is a mini-series based on this book. It was not produced by the same company that produced the Pillars of the Earth mini-series. And there is no follow-up game made by, what company did Pillars of the Earth? Daedalic Entertainment. I hope that they make one, because I like this book a lot. And a lot of people don't like this book because of a lot of times when the characters are very dynamic, and then they fall back into their static roles from the beginning of the book, people get kind of angry. For me, it's like, well, these characters didn't really change. They were kind of forced to change.
I mean, that's part of their story, though, is that you have this hope of growth, and then they rescind back into whatever they started. I mean, people do that all the time. There's always the trope of people can't change. So
one of the best characters or endings in this book is one of the bad guys. He finally gets his just desserts at the end in a way that I predicted, but I could totally see being a surprise to other people reading this book. And it was so fantastic to finally have this ruthless character who has like no remorse for any of his actions, who had been rewarded all throughout the book, gaining higher levels of nobility the whole book, and then he just dies, and it's like nobody will ever find out how he died. He's just lost everything in one fell swoop.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh, this is so good. Like Ken Follett's writing style is like, you think, oh, it can't get it, things are getting better, everything's on the upswing, there's no way this can turn wry, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, everything fell into place for this to go horribly wrong, and then they recover again, and then everything goes horribly wrong, they recover again. There's like these arcs where it's just like everything's going better, and then fall from grace, and then characters will die you're not expecting, or like the plague hits and like all these characters that had these plot points die, and it affects the plot significantly. It's just really, really good. And one of the subplots is that the king, I don't know if you know about Edward II. Essentially nobody knows what happened to him. He's one of the subplots in this book.
Okay, that's cool.
So it really has more, like Pillars of the Earth, the royal family has less significant parts. This one, the royal family has a lot more significant impacts.
Okay.
I will be reading the third book in this series, which is called A Column of Fire. I'm excited because Madeline has told me many times that I will like that one better than I like this one. And I significantly enjoyed this one reading on the beach in Jamaica.
Maybe it was just the atmosphere.
No, the characters, I do like the characters. Murthen was a great main character for the merchants, and what is the Parish Guild or whatever. He was really good. And throughout the story, as characters die, like they'll still go back, and there are some references to Pillars of the Earth in this book that it's like, oh, if you didn't read that book, you wouldn't get it. But it doesn't prevent you from reading like these books, the Kingsbridge Trilogy. You can read them separate from each other; they'll still make sense. It's a trilogy of books that have almost no connections because they're like 200
It's like an
years apart.
anthology series.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. So, I highly recommend it. World Without End, but first go read Pillars of the Earth, and then go read A Column of Fire. These are good books. Ken Follett is a great author. Deserves all the praise that he gets, and definitely a good read. All right. With that being said, go watch Birds of Prey, The Joker, and read this book. Don't play any games.
Not this week. Do something else.
Yeah. Just do something. Go play on your calculator or something. I don't know. Make sure you share this Fandom Friday episode on every platform you can think of, especially minds.com or whatever the heck it's called. Anyways.
We just invented something else. Okay.
No, that's the thing.
Okay.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
And we will see you
on next CHRILLCAST.